gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Episode 26. Just love a little Blondie. That doesn't get you moving, folks. Nothing will. Welcome, everybody. Episode 26. Little Blondie. Little Rapture. If you didn't know, that was released in January of 1981. 1981! We are celebrating 1981. Rapture was released as the second and final single from the album. The song became their fourth and last single to reach number one on the U.S. Billboard's Top 100, where it stayed for 2 weeks. It was number one. And I'll tell you something you didn't know. Carly B, step back for a second. Because Blondie had some rhymes. It was the first song to feature female rap. Oh. DJ spinning, I said, my, flash is fast, flash is cool, Francois, c'est pas, flash ain't no do, and you don't stop, sure shot, go out to the parking lot, and you get in your car and drive real far, and you drive all night, and then you see a light. Trendsetters, right? You wonder where it all comes from. Welcome, everybody, welcome. You know where it comes from? It comes from a special place. And I hope we can find that special place here today. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we will. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode 26 of the Bobby Kudo Show. So glad to have you here. Little Rapture, right? Little Rapture. Kind of figure, I wanted something, tell you a little secret. Been working on the show all week. Been caring for a loved one. And, had a lot of time to kind of stew over the show and come up with different ideas and, maybe try a couple of different things. And I had an idea what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden, right, all week, I had this idea. And then all of a sudden, I sit down behind the microphone and I happen to play that particular song because it was in our set for today. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but further along, my favorite segment of the show when we talk about music of the year 1981, which I mentioned earlier is the year we're celebrating today. Blondie Rapture was one of the songs, and it just inspired me. And then the title Rapture, and what it means, and when you think of what's going on today, yesterday, this week, unless you live under a rock, right? This whole impeachment thing, I will tell you guys, this is not a political show. And if you guys follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I will admit to it. I will admit that I have been posting, rather some politically motivated content, and I apologize to anyone if you're getting the wrong idea about what I'm actually, my intent and what I'm posting. And I'm not posting things in the sense of trying to sway your ideas or your thoughts in any way, shape, or form. But what I am trying to do is just shine the light on some things that are just out there in your face that you might not be conscious about. And I'm listening and I'm paying attention, and I would hope that maybe if I wasn't looking, you were going to give me a heads up, and that's what I feel like I'm doing for you folks is maybe just giving you a heads up. This whole thing with I will tell you, I mentioned in the last podcast it was State of the Union Day, and I mentioned to you guys I would be watching, and I will tell you I did not watch I did not watch it live. I did watch it after the fact, and I did watch it in its entirety. And I will say, and I would be completely honest with you guys if I felt differently. But it was to me, it was a very inspiring and different State of the Union than what I've been accustomed to all these years. Typically it's been these events where whatever side, whether it be the Democratic side or the Republican side, but just people clapping and standing up. This one here had substance, and I will give credit to Trump and his administration, because they do have a knack for that. They know how to. These are professionals. This is what they do. You know what I mean? When you think about Trump and what he was before he was the president, he was a reality TV show star. So, and not just a reality TV show star, but he was a very successful reality TV. It was the number one show on television. So, make no mistake about it. He's brilliant in that sense, and he knows exactly what to say and how to do it. And I will tell you, and I'll be the first to admit, that Trump, for me, I'm always nervous because I never know when he's going to flip off the handle. But in this case, if you watched the State of the Union and you witnessed the blatant disrespect for not only the rule of law, but some of the most inspiring and touching stories and sacrifices that had been made in recent times by some amazing people. And Pelosi just kind of got up and, she, when she ripped up the speech like that, I'll be honest with you, I was taken back by it. And I don't know that, at this point, what is the etiquette? Like, let's just be frank and honest with each other here and say, like, what is the etiquette? And, what is it that they're not saying about each other that they're not saying about each other anyway? I mean, it's just absolutely terrible the way they speak about one another and the constant hate and venom that they're spewing. So in this case, would it be any different? And should I be surprised that Pelosi would go ahead and do something like that? No, probably not. I shouldn't be surprised. But to actually see it, it's just one of those things that you could hear it, but to see it, and people will say the rebuttal of that will be, well, he did reach to shake her hand, and he didn't shake her hand. I should say she reached to him, and he didn't shake her hand. And with that said, again, I can appreciate someone not being fake. If you're trying to get me fired from my job, if you're going out of your way to try to get me terminated from my position, I don't know that you and I are going to be shaking hands or pretending like everything is okay. So, some will say that he's seen it. Some will say he didn't see it. Quite honestly, the way I feel about it is that if you were in the middle of impeaching me, then we're not friends. She did have, if you remember correctly, at one point she did say that she didn't think an impeachment was a good idea, but somehow this is where we ended up. And if you didn't know, guys, this wonderful impeachment process cost the taxpayers just a little over $3 million. They said it was actually substantially cheaper than the Clinton. I guess there wasn't as much investigation, and whatever the case was, there was a lot of hearsay in this process. But nonetheless, Pelosi, she'll say it, and she said it a couple of times that he is impeached, he'll always be impeached, and that's just a matter of fact. And I think that's just her own personal vendetta against him. And is she thinking of us, the citizens that are suffering and paying the consequences? No, she's not thinking of that. She's thinking of herself and whatever motivates her political agenda. That's going to be it. I mean, you look at the Iowa caucuses and the way that the Democrats completely listen, guys. I don't want to get on a tear here, but me, like I mentioned in the past, I'm an independent, so. For me, I kind of just watch the field and really make my decision based on. I'll always say this for me, and I always invite you to apply the same philosophy in your life, and that is I always vote for the one that I think is best for me and my family. That's the way I make my decisions. It doesn't matter, what the group census is, or what I'm not with the group. And I would encourage you to do your own thinking for yourself and not think with the group as well, and just kind of, rather than just go with the narrative and be mad or angry or select a certain individual just because it's part of, the group is a terrible idea. You'll never find peace that way. So I encourage you guys to just think individual and decide real hard when you vote on the decisions that you make, because this is crucial. This is going to be another crucial election. Do I think the Democrats have a chance? I'm going to be honest and say no. I really don't. There's really no. I mean, really, when you're looking at Pete and you're thinking that he's probably your best bet at this point, then you're in trouble. I mean, Warren's kind of lost it, and they're all talking at the side of their mouths. It's funny. I even posted, if you guys follow on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, you'll notice I did post a video of Elizabeth Warren getting off her private jet. She's talking about, they want to save the climate, save the planet, everybody save the planet, and they're coming off, and they're coming off their private jets. And she actually, the funny thing was, what's terrible about it is it's like, just own it, right? You're doing it anyway. But she was actually trying to hide behind one of her staffers. Terrible. These people are terrible. And just, I don't even, again, I just wanted to open up with that and get it out of the way, because, obviously it's the elephant in the room, and no matter what side you're on, they say that, right now Trump's approval rating is higher than it's ever been. And I think a lot of that has to do with just people, like-minded people like myself, like you, that just don't like to see the disrespect. And because, again, when it's logical, it's logical. You can justify it, but when it's just illogical, when it's childish, when she says something like, ripping up the impeachment was it was the better of the. So what are you saying, that you were going to wipe your ass with it, and what, all those people that are named and honored in that speech are what? Are you wiping your ass with that? I mean, I don't know that she thought that one through, and I just think that she kind of pulled a temper tantrum, and maybe that was the case. But again, I don't want to keep talking about her, because that's no fun. Let's talk about something inspiring. Right, let's move along. Right, so enough about that, guys. I appreciate you going through that, and welcome you to episode 26. I mentioned earlier that I've been caring for a loved one. Had kind of a medical situation in the family, but listen, all well. Rest assured, everything went well, and we are in a very good place. And I am very grateful to. I want to shout out to the people that I work with, my management team. I've been out of work for a good solid week, and that's how this is where you have the strength in the people that you work with, because where I couldn't be there, the people that I work with are, and were able to manage just fine and take care of the ship. So I thank you all. Quick shout out to them. I know some of you listen, and I just want to say thank you for that opportunity to help me care for a loved one. So and I mentioned that I had some time to kind of stew and just think about the show and things that were going on. And I mentioned in episode 25, it was the beginning of February, obviously February, Black History Month, and and I mentioned this only because if I talk about somebody like a Bob Dylan, like a poet, I mentioned two guys that I really appreciate music that way, and really lyrically, when you have someone who's trying to deliver a message, that noble message, nobody more so than this individual that I just like to take a second out in honor of Black History Month and mention him and the amazing contribution that he made in his lifetime, and just talk a little bit about him. And of course, if you don't know, I'm speaking about this individual.
Sold I to the merchant ships,
Mr. Bob Marley.
Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly.
And that's Redemption Song.
Won't you help to sing?
And I mentioned, the being the poet and delivering a message. Mr. Marley was born on the February 6th of 1945, and he passed on May 11th of 1981 at the age of 36 years young. What a tragedy to lose somebody this inspiring and talented. Again, these were people that were delivering a message when it wasn't cool to deliver this message, and they did it through song. Fantastic.
How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book.
Fantastic, guys. Just fantastic. And if you didn't know, and I won't pretend like I did, but obviously doing the research for this show, Redemption Song, fantastic song. In July of 1977, Marley was found to have a type of malignant melanoma under the nail of his toe. Contrary to urban legend, the lesion was not primarily caused by an injury during a football match that year, but instead was a symptom of an already existing cancer. I mean, imagine that. Did you know that? I didn't know this. Marley turned down his doctor's advice to have the toe amputated, which would have hindered his performing career, citing his religious beliefs. And instead, the nail and the bed were removed and the skin grafted and was taken from his thigh to cover the area. Despite the illness, he continued touring and was in the process of scheduling a world tour in 1980. And, wow. And then Marley's last concert occurred in Stanley Theater, now called the Bendham Theater for Performing Arts in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on 23rd of September 1980. Just 2 days earlier, he had collapsed during a jogging tour in Central Park and was brought to the hospital, where he learned that his cancer had spread to his brain. The only known photographs showed him in Kevin McDonald's film of Marley. If you guys have a chance to check that out, it was Kevin McDonald. That was a documentary. Shortly thereafter, his health deteriorated, and for 8 months, effectively failing to treat his advanced cancer, Marley boarded a plane for his home in Jamaica, where he passed. So, listen, guys, truly a hero, poets. They spoke the words and they inspired a whole generation, and they continue to inspire people today. So, happy 75th birthday to you, Mr. Marley, and in honor of you, this podcast is 1981. Right? So there you go, guys. Go listen to some Marley. Fantastic music. You have to love it. Marley's just fantastic. And I always appreciate him. I always appreciate his music. Even if you're just driving around and you just put it on, it's not bad. None of it's bad. You know what I mean? Even if you want some of that just good old rock or reggae rock. I Shot the Sheriff, just some good stuff to go along with that as well. So, just a quick mention for him for this Black History Month. So I hope you appreciate that. So with that, guys, moving on here just a little bit, I just want to talk about something real quick here, and I hope I don't hurt anybody's feelings. But I do want to mention, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant tragedy. Him and the helicopter accident. Him, his daughter, I believe it was 7 other people on that helicopter that passed. I just want to take note real quick, and I'm going to say this once, and I won't say it again. And I only want to mention this because if anybody knows the show, I am a huge fan and support all of our local safety and life-saving departments, firefighters, police department, state police, FEMA, you name it, Secret Services, Homeland Security, Border Patrol, law enforcement, first responders, humanitarians, people out there that are saving lives on a daily basis, risking their lives for us every single day. And with all due respect, and I say this with all due respect, and again, this is just one man's opinion, I don't want to take anything away from Kobe Bryant's legacy. You were an amazing athlete, sir. I will agree with a 20-year career anywhere, and playing at that level for those 20 years is absolutely phenomenal. With that said, do I think it's fair that we, stop the world and we put monuments all over the place for Kobe Bryant? And again, listen, if you want to put a statue up of him, at at the stadium, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I am totally okay with that because I think it's appropriate for that. But then, when you start building these monuments and you start building these huge or have these huge events all over the place for an athlete. And again, and guys, I'm not saying that he's not, like, by all means. But all I'm saying is that a little perspective here. We have people that are dying every day, that are risking their lives. The troops, the soldiers that are overseas fighting the good fight, that are dying for us to have our freedoms. And we're not building monuments for these people. But yet we're going to build a monument for Kobe Bryant in every state because everybody was a Kobe Bryant fan. I mean, again, I don't misunderstand what I am saying. It's a terrible, terrible tragedy, and I am so sad for him and his family. No one should ever go through anything like that. But in all fairness here, guys, let's pay attention and look at and honor the ones and those who are risking their lives. Kobe Bryant had a wonderful life. All of you, everyone, remember this. Most of us who listen to the show, unless you're very, very, very wealthy, you will not live the life that Kobe Bryant has lived. You probably will live to be 100 and still never see the financial rewards that Kobe Bryant was able to enjoy. So, I choose to look at the latter and say, he lived a good life. He lived a very successful life, and he had a wonderful legacy. With that said, I think we need to really put things into perspective and realize that we should be honoring those who risk their lives to save ours every single day. Those people in those ambulances drivers, the ones that are responding to these overdoses and saving lives and giving people a second chance. Yeah, putting their own lives at risk. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Those are the people that I think we really need to focus on. So that, what, I won't talk about it again. I did want to mention it because it did bother me. Because again, even in Italy, Italy, they had an abandoned basketball court, and they redid the whole basketball court, and they named it the Kobe Bryant, and they painted it, and I get it. And he was a humanitarian, and he did a lot of good for a lot of people. Yes, he did, and I don't deny any of that. And I don't want people to get the wrong idea of what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that we really want to think about the way that we're directing our energy and the people that we're recognizing. There were a couple of troops that died recently, one of which was from New Hampshire, and I don't know that we'll be doing or having the same fanfare that we're having for Kobe Bryant. So, one died for our freedoms, one died in their private helicopter after leaving a professional basketball game. So listen, 1981. Welcome everybody. I know I'm a little fiery. I got a lot of content, and it's been, like I said, it's been a week, and I've been thinking a lot about a lot of things, and just wanted to kind of get out here, and just get a message out. Get together with you, and share some of these thoughts that I've been having, in hopes that they find you well, right? Because I want to have a little fun. I just don't want to talk about business all day. Let's talk about a little fun. Let's talk about, how about some cost of living, right? What is it? Yeah. What? Yeah? All right, let's talk about that. Cost of living in 1981. How much things cost, huh? Let's see. If you wanted to buy a new house, it was going to cost you about, let's see here, $78,000. That's not bad, right? Considering, average income per year was about $21,000, and your average rent was going to cost you about $315. Gasoline, $1.25 a gallon. And I'll tell you what, in 1981, it wasn't like the fuel efficiency was at the top of the list. I would imagine it wasn't. Let's see. A 19-inch color TV. Ready for this one? $399. And that was a CRT, man. That was one of them big-ass TVs that things weighed like a ton. And it was pretty much what, like rabbit ears? You were like, I don't even know if they had cable. $399.95. So $400 was going to cost you for that. An undercounted dishwasher was going to cost you $250. If you wanted to buy some Miracle Whip, you never know. Valentine's Day is coming up. Miracle Whip cost you $1.27. A Star Wars figurine set. If you wanted a little figurine set, Star Wars, It'll cost you about $29, $30. And if you wanted to move to Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, a log cabin on 5 beautiful acres with 3 bedrooms and 1 bath, it'll cost you $19,900, right? Hey, not bad. Not bad. See? We could probably make it in 1981. I don't think that was too bad, right? What else happened in 1981? Did you guys know, or did you remember, I should say? Lady Diana Spencer marries Charles, Prince of Wales. You know what, guys? You know what? And I don't want to talk about it because I'm not a fan, but I've always wondered how that all worked. You know, the amount of money that whole royal family and the taxpayers pay, and how that's all written, and people just eat that stuff up. They love it, and in this case, you know, Lady Diana. Not that I would take anything away from her, because she was an amazing humanitarian. She did a lot for a lot of people, but he was, and I don't know you guys. I know you guys will agree. He was a strange looking cat, wasn't he? Like just a weird looking dude, and even now he's just a weird looking dude. And she was, I would consider very beautiful. In that whole like marriage, but I guess, you know, even now you look at the boys, they're good looking boys, but they kind of grew into it, right? Because they weren't, I don't know that they were great looking kids, but if you guys didn't know, over 600,000 people watched that wedding, and that wedding took place in July of 1981. Wow, at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. And they had, I thought Rachel and I had a big wedding. We had 200 people, like just a little over 200 people at our wedding. They had 3,500 guests. Many of them were royalty, celebrities. Wow. They attended the estimated 750 million people watched worldwide. Imagine that. So 600,000 people witnessed it, watched it in real time. They had 3,500 guests, and 750 million people worldwide watched it on television. The royal wedding drew the public's interest in such an extreme way, partially due to Lady Diana Spencer's attractiveness. See? I told you. And the charm, as well as the perception of Diana and Charles' relationship, was the modern-day fairy tale. Huh? But it wasn't. It didn't turn out so good for her. You know, he's still doing his thing, but terrible tragedy with her in that car accident. 1981, in April of 1981, did you know this? NASA launched its very first space shuttle mission. The space shuttle Columbia successfully carried 2 astronauts, Robert Crippen and John Young, into space, completing its inaugural flight of the space program. Huh? How about that? Huh? How about some CCR? Fantastic. And there you go. And they launched the craft. It was reusable. And that was the beginning of it, right? The beginning of reusable aircrafts. And then those shuttles did amazing things with that. They literally built the International Space Station using those shuttles back and forth. Pretty cool stuff. Something really special, for the lady listeners of the Bobby Kudo Show. Sandra Day O'Connor, right? Does that name ring a bell? It should. President Ronald Reagan appointed Sandra Day O'Connor to the U.S. Supreme Court on July 7th. The confirmation hearing was held at the beginning of September. At the end of the month, the U.S. Senate voted in favor of adding her and to the court with, hey, check this out, 99-0 vote. One senator was absent. I think he was sick. So they voted her unanimously. Sandra Day O'Connor became the first female justice on the United States Supreme Court on September 25th. Her votes and opinions while in the court cast her as a moderate conservative. She did fantastic. She really did. She held the previous office in Arizona. She was a senator there. She retired on July 1st of 2005, and she was replaced by Justice Samuel Alito in January 31st of 2006. So thank you for your service, Sandra Day O'Connor. Fantastic. You know, the first woman to be on the Supreme Court. That is fantastic. You know, and that's really us, you know, taking that leap and that step. You know, again, with you know, just I think as we continue to evolve, and you can kind of see it through the stages of us, you know, just of our history, of the history of our democracy, the way we've kind of just, you know, we've getting smarter and smarter as we go along, realizing that, you know, at the end of the day, we all need each other. You know, granted, every way, shape, and form, we can find something for everyone. Like they say, there's an ass for every seat. So hop on board and hold on tight, right? Pope John Paul II. Can we talk about? Listen, I will tell you, he was of all the popes, I would say that he has to be the most popular one, right? Because I mean, he was in my house. It was like watching. It was like seeing Elvis. I mean, he was always on television. We had plates on the wall with this guy on the wall, and but he was shot. I don't know if you guys remember this. It was devastating. It was like world news. I don't know that today we would. I don't know if we'd be celebrating. I don't know. See, I shouldn't have said that. On May 13th of 1981, Pope John Paul II was shot by a would-be assassin, Muhammad Ali Agaka. The Pope survived the attack but sustained the gunshot wounds to his left hand, right arm, and abdomen. Agaka's motive for the attempted assassination was unknown, although at one point it was suggested that the KGB and the country of Bulgaria were behind it. Imagine that. Do you think that's true? Like the KGB would want the Pope dead? In July of 1981, he was sentenced to prison for life in Italy. Soon after the shooting, Pope John Paul II publicly stated that he had already forgiven Ageka. And in 2010, Ageka was released from prison. Ageka was a Turkish national who had been previously convicted of a murder of a journalist in 1979, but he had escaped his incarceration. So there you go. So this dude shot the Pope, and they let him go, and he's out there somewhere. Turkish. Turkish, I wonder. And they say that it was, what were they saying it was? And they were saying it was to the KGB? Maybe it was something else. Maybe they want to, maybe somebody wants to look into that. What else was pretty cool there in 1981? How about, hey, you know what? The DeLorean. Who didn't want a DeLorean? We all wanted, I know I wanted a DeLorean. You don't want a DeLorean? I mean, it was, especially when we watched it on Back to the Future. Did you guys know the first DeLorean, the DMC-12 sports car, were produced in January 22nd, known for its distinctive gull wing doors and stainless steel body panels. Anybody watching Tesla with their new truck, right? That's stainless steel panels. The vehicle garnered a lot of attention for its unusual look. It was designed by Giotto Grigliardo, who had also designed cars for major companies including Alfa Romeo, BMW, Fiat, and Maserati. Although his career, the DeLorean was only manufactured for 2 years, about 9,000 of those was produced in total. The company quickly ran into financial troubles, and he was busted. He was actually he was charged with conspiracy to smuggle drugs. I think he was putting large quantities of cocaine in the. See, guys, I told you the 80s. It was a cocaine-induced era, really. So I guess this guy was putting cocaine in the cars and shipping them over. But, you know, if you didn't know, it was 1985 when Back to the Future came out, and the DeLorean, like everybody wanted one. So now there's this is actually following out there, and people are huge fans. I'll tell you what, if I could get my hands on one, although I will be honest with you guys, it would take a lot of work to make it nice. You know, I think we take everything for granted. Like when I get in my truck, I love having like the new stuff in there. You know what I mean? Like the digital radio. I mean, not that I'm not. I'm all about antiques. I love them. I think they're great. But do I think that they're if I'm going for a nice ride, for a nice long ride, maybe once in a while. But if I can ride a luxury with technology, I'd like to do that. You know what I mean? But maybe you can, like, if you got a DeLorean, you could spend some money and, I don't know, maybe upgrade it somehow. Did you guys know that Mozart Undiscovered Symphony did you know that? Listen, you guys, I know you didn't know this because I didn't know, and I'm going to tell you. Maybe you did know, but I will tell you that. Do you guys know Mozart wrote his first symphony at the age of 8? I guess originally, check this out. Originally, I believe it was when he was 9, but then they found this stuff. An unknown piece of music written by Mozart is discovered at the Bavarian State Library in February of 1981. It was announced that the Bavarian State Library in Germany had acquired a previously unknown piece of music written by famed composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. The piece of music was described as the 3-movement symphony in F major and had been composed by Mozart at the age of 9 while he had been living in London in 1765. The library stated that they had found the symphony in a bundle of 170 manuscripts that had purchased from an anonymous seller for about $300,000. They also announced that the concert would be they would perform a concert with that newfound. Wow, that's pretty cool, right? But I didn't know that he was 9 years old. I had no idea. Like they said 9 years old. I think 8 was the first one that he wrote, and then 9 was, I think, Symphony Number 1 that they released. But I mean, that just, yeah, right. Focus. But I will tell you, I was listening. Guys, listen, I love music. I love the idea of music. I all facets of music, all genres of music. I'm a huge fan. But I never really listened to like symphony music. I really never get into it. But I begin in honor of the show, and I try to do research. When I do research for the show, I kind of get all involved. And in this case, I was listening to some Mozart, and I was listening to that piece that was written in F major. And I found it very soothing. I was working on the show, taking some notes, and I had it playing in my headphones, and I found myself kind of getting lost in the abundance of sounds. There's so many different instruments that are playing all at once, and it's pretty amazing that a child that young could create something that amazing. No, I just, to me, I find that absolutely intriguing that's possible, but it is. And he was a prodigy, a musical genius, and if you're setting the mark, you're saying that this guy really knows his stuff. So good for them. And listen, if you have a second, guys, and you're driving on Route 24 and you're in a panic, put some Mozart on and just let it play. Symphony Number 1, Number 2, you take your pick. They all sound pretty good. They probably sound the same. You really can't, unless, I mean, again, people say it's like wine. I maybe it's because I'm just beginning my Mozart experience, and maybe the more I listen to it, the more I'll appreciate it. Maybe I'd say that. How about this? 1981, the famous and ridiculously talented Muhammad Ali finally retires with his career record 55 wins and 5 defeats. Phenomenal. I mean, if you guys remember, or if you have a chance, you can watch. There's got to be a plethora of Muhammad Ali documentaries, and any of them, just take a watch and see. Even if you don't agree, you might agree. Some people have different opinions on him, but you will all agree that he was absolutely charismatic. When you think of fighting and promoting and he really selling himself as a product, kind of like what I do here. This is the Bobby Kudo show. I'm every time I'm here and I'm speaking to you, I'm selling the show. I'm trying to get you guys to listen. I'm trying to get you guys to be involved and be committed, to the show, and like he did, and he would get out there and get in front of the camera, and he would say these outrageous things, and it would just get everybody fired up, and like McGregor, getting that reaction from the audience, from the media, and you really can't wait or you're looking forward to that fight. You can't wait to watch, and it's no matter what, whether you like them or you're not, you're still watching, just to see, whether or not if you like them, you want them to win. If you don't like them, you want them to get beat. So either way, you're winning, and he did a fantastic job at that, and hats off to him and the Muhammad Ali brand. And what a legacy, right? I mean, fantastic legacy. Let's talk about technology, right? You guys want to talk a little bit about technology? 1981, scientists identify the AIDS virus. That was tough. That was with Ryan White, and I know I've mentioned him a couple of times on the show. I mentioned the space shuttle flight. Did you guys know that IBM launched its first PC with Microsoft MS-DOS? For my more seasoned fans of the show, you guys will remember DOS and the growth from DOS and then the evolution into Microsoft Windows. But DOS is where it all started. I mean, everything was command prompt. Even they had the games there, open the door, close the door. Hey, they kept you busy. And again, it starts somewhere. Today, it starts somewhere, and it's a small idea, and then all of a sudden, next thing you talk about great ideas, and like you think about Uber Eats and Grubhub, And those, I mean, I was watching. There was a segment on, and they were talking about what those companies are worth, and they were in the billions now. They're worth literally in the billions. Like DoorDash, like they're worth like $3 billion. Imagine that. You just take it. The cool thing about it was, and not that I was even aware or pretending like I was aware. I've always been a little kind of creeped out about the idea. I don't know if I like the idea of strangers coming to my house and delivering food to me. I'm kind of wigged out about it. But outside of that, I get more because I think between us, between us here on the show, I think if I call like my local Chinese food restaurant, I know that the restaurant is a location that I can hold responsible. Same thing goes for like when I order my pizza. Like I know that the place that I order my pizza from, they're a location, and if I need to speak to someone, I can. When I think of DoorDash and I think of Uber Eats and I think to myself, gee, I don't know who the person is, and if something is wrong, who do I reach out to? And I know that they have they have support from these the web app company, but ultimately the person, the restaurant. But contrary to my beliefs and what I thought when I watched the article, there are restaurants that survive solely because those services are available. And if they didn't have those services available, like the Uber Eats and the DoorDash, they would literally cease to exist. Imagine that. Like I had no idea. So I will, moving forward, I will give it a shot. We tend to order out, and we'll order food every now and then, and I will make it a point to try to help the system along, because I really didn't know how economically enforcing it was, and it is. It people are working. It's helping restaurants stay alive. And for all those reasons, I would like to. Again, I'm a fan, guys. If you know the show, if you know me, I'm a fan of technology. So why wouldn't I support that? And in this case, I will do that. I will support it because I'm a fan of technology. The term internet was used for the first time, 1981. In case you didn't know. Post-it notes. Who doesn't love a Post-it note? Post-it notes were launched by 3M Corporation in 1981. So some pretty cool stuff, right? China, they cloned their first fish. That was a golden carp. They cloning. Artificial production of insulin becomes the world's first genetically engineered protein to treat the human disease of diabetes. How amazing is that? Once again, just amazing, amazing, amazing things from an amazing species on this planet being able to do these things. And, they even think, I won't lie to you guys, if you follow on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, I have been at the Go-Go's. Fantastic, isn't it? I love it. I'm having a good time. I hope you're having a good time. So back to the show. So again, like just amazing idea that we can come up with these cures. And I mentioned the coronavirus, and if you're following on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I have been posting a couple of things about the coronavirus. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I have confidence in the CDC and the government. I'm hoping that they're making the right decisions and letting us know what's going on. But they're saying they're pretty close to a vaccine, and I think they'll do it, and I hope they'll do it sooner than later, and we don't lose any more people. I know they just mentioned that the first American citizen, I believe they were 60 years old, just died over in China with that disease. So be careful. If you're around anyone from that could be traveling from there, you just gotta watch yourselves. It's cheapest. 1981, the American test tube baby is born. Very first one. Here we go. Elizabeth Jordan Carr. She was born December 28th of 1981 at 7:46 a.m. She's the first United States baby born from in vitro fertilization procedure. Wow. She was the 15th in the world, but the first United States. So, hey, you know what? Sometimes, other countries do this stuff and we kind of, follow along, but ultimately, how many people are alive today because of that process? And she was the first in 1981. It's amazing that we were doing it back then, and now it's almost commonplace. People are having babies, just have babies. You don't even have to have a relationship anymore, right? Because it was used to be, typically it would be, the couple that wanted a child. Now, you could be single and just, you know what, I want to have a kid, and go through that in vitro process and get a donor, and you can have a kid. You don't need nobody, right? Just you and your kid. Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. Putting up with somebody else's bullshit. At least if you're going to raise somebody and spend time on them, at least they're yours, right? Right? That's what I say. Cool things. The wreck of the Titanic was found. Jack Grimm announces that he believed he found part of the wreckage of the Titanic in the North Atlantic. How cool was that? And that spawned a bunch of stuff, right? Once they found that and they knew where it was. It's funny. I always remember. I did remember that people, they couldn't find it. It was a long time. They were looking, and it was almost like the Bigfoot. They talk about it, but they never really found it. And then all of a sudden, they came across it. How cool was that? And then they got the movies, and then they did. Now it's like we go down there like once a week, and I think you can, for $10 you can go in a submarine and they'll take you down on the Titanic now, right? Oh, what a terrible tragedy that was, though. Popular culture for 1981. You ready for this? MTV was launched on August 1st. How cool was that, right? And you guys will know that video killed video killed the radio star. That one was featured in one of our podcasts, one of our previous ones, episode maybe 12, if I'm not mistaken. 1981, I mentioned Mr. Simon and Garfunkel in the last podcast, and they reunited in 1981 for a concert in New York Central Park. If you guys have a chance to listen to that, it was okay. Any of those concerts. I will tell you though, speaking of Central Park and concerts, if you guys remember, Garth Brooks did a live concert there when Garth Brooks was at his height of his career. He did a live concert at Central Park, and it was phenomenal. If you guys ever have a chance, you want to listen, you like some country music, put that on. Garth Brooks lives in Central Park, and he was fantastic. He sounded amazing. Simon and Garfunkel, on the other hand, they were okay. I don't know. It was kind of like I don't know if it was kind of, it was kind of hokey. I don't know if the audio was off or whatever it was, but I watched it, and it was okay. It was. Not that I watched it in 1981, because I didn't really care in 1981, but I did watch it later on in life, and I do remember that I wasn't a huge fan of it. But if you like those guys, you would appreciate it. Something really, really cool about 1981 that I want to share with you guys, and I hope you appreciate it the way that I do, is that this was released in 1981. This film made its debut in theaters throughout the United States during June of 1981. Comedy-driven action-adventure film created by Steven Spielberg and George Lucas was the first to feature the character of none other than Mr. Indiana Jones. Right? Mr. Harrison Ford? Raiders of the Lost Ark. Fantastic, wasn't it? I loved it. I love the premise. I thought Harrison Ford was fantastic. I love the adventure behind it. I thought it was awesome, right? Talking about popular films, right? What a great year for movies. It really was a great year for movie. And if you were a fan and you liked action, you liked adventure, you were a fan of Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was a no-brainer. Easy one. Other movies that were releasing, listen, I tell you what, if you lived and were actively watching movies in 1981, there was some good stuff going on, because this movie was also released. You all know who this is. Our great American hero, none other than Mr. Christopher Reeves in Superman 2. I know, it's funny. I feel like I can say this out loud and we can share this. It almost seems like the popularity in these superhero characters kind of mimic the times. Because, you think of Superman, right? Think all American. Right? And then you got a character like Batman and The Dark Knight. And you kind of think of dark times, right? Because, Metropolis, right? Superman was a happy place. I mean, granted, you had like crazy villains, but Gotham City was just the kind of... Nobody wants to go to Gotham City, right? Like, I don't even think the sun shines in Gotham City. But you could kind of go with the times, with the popularity. And I always thought that Superman kind of represented, like, kind of just American, all-American, this all-American hero. But Christopher Reeves, he passed away October 10th of 2004. Terrible tragedy, horse accident, I believe is what it was. But you know what? In 1981, it was some great, great, great movies. Not to mention this one. And you know what? I've mentioned this one in the past. And I mentioned it earlier in the show. And when you're talking about the strength of women and, their, like the women, like the Day O'Connors of the world and the impact that these women have in our lives, you can't help but think of this woman and the impact that she had. And this was the soundtrack to a great, great movie. And if you didn't, or you haven't seen it, I would suggest that you do so. Mrs. Dolly Parton. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the streets, the traffic starts jumping. And 9 to 5 was a comedy that had Jane Fonda, Miss Lily Tomlin, and of course the one and only Dolly Parton. And it was 3 working women who lived up their fantasies by getting even with their with overthrow of the company's sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical, bigot boss. That was played by Dabney Coleman. The film grossed over $103.9 million. And it is the 20th highest grossing comedy film. And it was great. It was all about women power. I remember that guy. What a douche he played. It was so misogynist, and it was just terrible. But these women overcame. They took him down, and they were in the company. Great movie. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, go check it out. 9 to 5. Right? Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. What do you think so far, right? You enjoying the show? I hope so. I am. A little bit all over the place, but you know what? Works for me if it works for you. Other movies. How about Any Which Way You Can movie? That was with Clint Eastwood. And he's about to retire. It was one of those movies, kind of like Every Which Way But Loose. I think the monkey was in that one too. Kind of, and he did a couple of movies there that were just, he was popular and made movies. Arthur the movie. Do you guys remember Arthur the movie? I'm not a huge fan of Arthur the movie, but I know I'll mention it because it was pretty popular. But this was the oh boy, did I mention cocaine in the 80s? Did I mention that? That's what this was. Once in your life, you find her. Yeah. Someone who turns Dudley Moore as Arthur Bach, a drunken New York City billionaire who's on the brink of an arranged marriage with a wealthy heiress. But he ends up falling in love for a common working class girl from Queens. Yeah, nothing predictable about that story. Great movie with the late Mr. Burt Reynolds was Cannonball Run, and that was released in 1980. See what I'm saying with the movies in 1981? Like, wicked, like, good choices of movies, some epic movies. Roger Moore, Dom DeLuise, and Farrah Fawcett, all-star supporting cast, filmed on Panavision. That was great movie, Cannonball Run. And then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Fantastic. I am a huge fan, and I hope you are as well. And in this case, it was for, in 1981, For Your Eyes Only, was the 12th for the Roger Moore's sexy, debonair, mysterious, intellectual James Bond 007, huh? He was an M16 agent. Yeah. I'm a huge fan, guys. I love it. I love James Bond. Those are fantastic. And you know what? And I got one last one here that I will mention, and then we will we'll move on. But if I didn't mention this one, then you guys would probably be upset. But I'm a huge fan of James Bond. All of them. I think they're fantastic, all the way up. Even to the more recent ones, I think they're just great. They encompass a great story, great storyline, and I like the idea of having that. The man's man. You know what I mean? He's an agent. Because right, we all want to be an agent. But this one here. Right? Do you remember this one? This was a British film. It was a fact-based story about two athletes. 1924 Olympics. Eric Liddell, a devout Scottish Christian who runs for the glory of God. And Arnold Abrahams, an English Jew who runs to overcome his prejudice. Of course, I'm talking about Chariots of Fire. Right? There you go. There you have it. So in 1981, you had a plethora of great movies to go watch. So lucky you if you were in 1981. I mean, that's fantastic, right? To have all that, to have all those choices, fantastic. I think it's great. And then, of course, guys, it's about that time for us to go where I love to go. If you're ready to go with me. And that is the History of Music segment. I love doing this. This is my favorite part of the show. It really is. It's this one, and then when we do the TV show thing. I like doing the TV show thing, but the music thing is really my favorite. Now that we've gotten past the movies, let's talk a little bit about music. And I have to mention this individual who was huge in the year 1981. Shortly after his departure from one of the greatest musical bands to ever exist, the Beatles, he went on he kind of did a solo thing. And I actually laughed when I heard the song because it came back to me. And shout out Brother Lou. And I remember my brother and I had this album. We had the 45. And if anybody remembers the struggle is real, guys. If you had a 45, it was tough because the center of the 45 was bigger. And you needed a little adapter to play it. Otherwise, you had to, if you could perfectly align it as it spun, and then you could put the needle on it, it would play. But if you didn't get it straight, it would sound all warped and weird. But we had this one, and this individual, again, I mentioned, I don't want to get too far off base here, but this individual had left the Beatles and then did a solo album. And he did create some amazing music. And I will say, although devastated upon his departure with the Beatles and all the reasons of, the Yoko Ono thing, I will play something for you guys, and just so you can hear it. But I only mentioned the whole idea with the 45 album is because we had the 45, and on one side of the album was this song, and on the other side of the album was a song that I'll play for you in a second. But first of all, let me just say, Mr. John Lennon. You want to talk about poets?
People say I'm crazy, doing what I'm doing.
Right?
Well, they give me all kinds of warnings to save me from ruin.
Watching the Wheels was a single released posthumously in 1981 after his murder. The B, and here I go. And the B side of this song, they released this after he passed away, and it's almost unfortunate. I can kind of see, almost like Yoko Ono had to be on the B side of this record, but she was, and I'm gonna play that for you guys. I want to give you some more of this before I prepare you for what you're gonna hear next, because this might hurt your ears a little bit. But once you hear it, and Brother Lou, you're going to laugh when you hear it because I didn't remember the song. I didn't remember this song until I heard it again. And guys, I apologize, but this is the B-side. This is the B-side. And this is Yoko Ono. This is the B-side of Watching the Wheels.
Yes, I'm your angel. I'll give you everything.
Absolutely terrible.
My magic power. So make a wish.
Terrible.
And I'll let it come true for you.
Yeah, you can't even hear that. I'm actually going to stop that because it's terrible. But that was, just to kind of flesh that out of your ears a little bit, off that same album was this. Was a great release. This is a great release too. But he was in love. You see what love does? Love makes you do crazy things, guys.
Woman, I can hardly express.
Right?
My mixed
Fantastic. And speaking of love, don't forget, guys, this week is Valentine's Day week. So if you haven't got your lady something special, you better hurry up and do it. Don't wait. You know what I will tell you to wait, though? Here's a little PSA for you. If you guys are going to do the edible arrangement things, in the past, I have noticed two things. Whenever I order an edible arrangement for my wife, I'm always ordering it because I know that I'm going to get a little something. You know what I mean? Like, I know that she's going to bring it home and I'm going to get to eat some of it. So I always try to pick something that I'm going to enjoy as well. And it's a little selfish, but what the hell? If she's going to get it, she's not going to get the whole thing herself. But in this case, I have ordered it ahead of time. Called like 2 or 3 days, maybe even 4 days ahead of time. And I've called at the last minute. And I will tell you, there is a difference. When you call a couple of days ahead of time, I'm thinking what they do is, and I wouldn't blame them, is I think they prepare it the day before and they put it in the refrigerator. So if you have like the strawberries, the bananas, all that stuff, they stab it all, they put it all in the sticks, and they put it in the refrigerator and it sits overnight. And then by the time you get it the next day when it gets delivered, it almost doesn't taste fresh. So my secret is I wait till the last minute. If I'm doing an edible arrangement, I wait till the last possible minute so that way it gets made fresh. Huh? How about that? You have to celebrate that, guys. So don't order edible arrangements too early because it's not good. Okay? You want some fresh fruits, then you wait a little bit. All right? Oh, what a great jam. We miss you, John Lennon. We miss you. Moving on. Dolly Parton. I mentioned, guys, 9 to 5 was a real big hit. That was there. Sheena Easton was also big then, too. And I will tell you guys, I went looking for some Sheena Easton music, and none of it was, I wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing it. But I will tell you, I will do this, and I will do this because this next song is very, very popular, and this individual kind of rebirthed himself again when he joined the American Idol team. It was funny. He was very popular, left, and then his daughter became some kind of socialista there for a little while, and she got involved in all kinds of drugs, and she was a mess, and she got herself clean. And then Mr. Lionel Richie joined the American Idol team, and but before all that, he was hanging out with Diana Ross, and they put this together in 1981.
My love, there's only you in my life.
And if you didn't know,
the only thing that's right.
They also made a movie.
My first love, your every breath that I take.
There you go.
Your every step I make.
This was played probably every wedding in the 80s.
And
Yeah, without question.
I want to share all my love.
Yep.
With you.
So there you go. Endless Love with Diana Ross and Mr. Lionel Richie. That was very popular, very popular, very popular. You can imagine everybody listening to that. This next song, I love this song. And I will tell you, the video, very vivid in my brain. Very vivid in my brain. And coming off an Endless Love, the only way you keep that Endless Love, of course, is if you continue to keep it physical. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Olivia Newton-John.
I'm saying all the things that I know you'll like. Make a good conversation. I gotta handle you just right. You know what I mean. I took you to an intimate restaurant.
If you didn't know,
Then do a suggested
breast cancer survivor, hats off to you.
there's nothing left to talk about.
This song,
Horizontally, let's get physical, physical. I wanna get physical. Let's get into physical. Let me hear your body talk. Body talk. Let me hear your body talk. Let's get physical.
here's a little, if you didn't know, they offered that song to Tina Turner and Rod Stewart first. I can't imagine anybody else singing this song but her. Right? And if you remember the video, it was cool. It starts off the video with her working out with a bunch of overweight men. And as the video progresses, they all get physique and fit and they're all muscular. And at the end of the video, she goes over to them, you know, kind of being fresh. And turns out they're all gay. Guys, I mentioned the 80s. A lot of coke in the 80s. Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Roxy Music was another popular band there as well. And I'm going to play this one, guys. Only because, even in the last episode, I had a couple that I wasn't sure of. And this one I wasn't sure of, but it is Bucks Fuzz. Check it out. Tell me what you think. I did mention coke in the 80s, right?
Where do you go to dream? To a place we all know, the land of make-believe.
So this was on the radio. Along with Adam and the Ants, which was another one too. Don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do? I don't remember these guys at all, but maybe you do. And maybe I just brought back a memory for you. Another real popular hit that was out. And this was off. This was huge. This artist made bazillions and bazillions of dollars. And I've mentioned you guys in the past, although I do have my own personal issues, you do have to appreciate the musical accomplishments of this individual. And of course, I'm mentioning the king of pop himself, Mr. Michael Jackson. This song reached number 1. Yeah. 7 weeks it sat there. Became Michael Jackson's fastest rising number 1 hit.
She was more like a beauty queen from a movie scene. I said, don't mind, but what do you mean? I am the one who would dance on the floor in the round. She said, I
Right?
am the one
You can't help it.
who would dance on the floor in the round.
Right? And Michael Jackson, guys, right? Always, whatever it was, he was great then. And I will tell you that I was a fan back then. And you know what? And anybody told you they weren't, they were a liar. And that album was huge. It broke all kinds of records. Thriller, the video, people waited. Vincent Price was, it was a big to-do. And everybody was watching. And this last one, guys, is very near and dear to me. I'm a huge fan of both of these. I mentioned one of these individuals, and of course they were popular in the 80s, and they continue to be. But in this case, two people that I, both passed, not with us any longer. And of course, when I mention these two, you'll know what I'm talking about. And of course, when I'm talking about Queen, and not just Queen, not just Freddie Mercury, guys. We're talking Queen, Freddie Mercury, sprinkled with a little David Bowie. There's a line in this song that gives me chills every time I hear it. And it's when David Bowie says, "Love is such an ovation." You'll have to listen to it and listen for it. It's such a powerful statement when you absorb it. But this was the great music that was on in the 80s, guys. You had to love it. And no matter what, you had to appreciate the great, great talent of Queen, Freddie Mercury, and Mr. David Bowie. Rest in peace, you guys. Guys, huge impact. Huge impact in the world. And changed a whole lot for a whole lot of people. And paved the way for a lot of people. So that, guys, and that brings us to the end of our musical history lesson for this episode 26. I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed it very, very much. As always, one of my favorite segments. And we can continue to talk about the 80s. And I'm just going to, you know what? Like, I am all about that song. Just really loved it. Guys, if I haven't mentioned, I don't want to get too far off the subject here because I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. But if you guys haven't had a chance to go over to Etsy and go check out the gear, I mentioned Valentine's Day, about a week away. Go over. You guys can still get it in time. Get the beanies. I got the tank tops for the ladies. I got some really cool gear over at the Etsy shop. Etsy.com/shop/The Bobby Kudo Show. And go check it out. Go get something for your lady that she'll really appreciate. The lady listenership is continuing to grow. I mentioned it before in the last podcast, and I will happy to and will report, guys, that the show is just on fire. It's not just you listening. Somebody's spreading the word. I don't know who it is. I know that I'm busting my ass on this end trying to get the word out about the show in hopes that you're doing the same. And I will tell you guys. Again, go over to Etsy, all right? I don't mention that again, but I want to mention I had a great friend call me this week, Victor De Silva. Shout out, buddy. Always appreciate it. And I will mention that I got a T-shirt heading his way. And he just, he called. If you guys, the last podcast, I played Dirty Diana by Michael Jackson, and he called me and just, kind of just to shoot the shit, and it was fantastic to hear his voice and really talking about his journey. Victor and I worked together. Anybody who knows Victor knows. Great individual, great human being, and he found love in Florida, and he's living there and enjoying life in a warmer climate, much warmer than we're in. But in the conversation, he mentioned that there was another version of Dirty Diana, and I went and checked it out, and from 50 Shades of Grey. And it was absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad he called me, and it was so great to hear his voice. And like I mentioned, guys, I'm shooting him a T-shirt, just because I love Victor, and I'm so glad that I got to talk to him, and just want to show him that I appreciate him and the fact that he's listening to the show and just getting involved. Speaking of being involved, guys, I'm always throwing stuff out there on Instagram, Facebook. I'm always forever trying to advertise the show and trying to get some engagement from the audience. And I was, I put some questions and just in general, like I said, the show was coming, episode 26. Any questions? And ask me anything. Can ask me anything. And I did get a question. And one of the questions was from one of the followers, Angelica Bjorkman, ANGELIKABEUKMAN on Instagram. And she wrote exactly, I'm just going to read it the way she wrote it. For what in your life do you feel most grateful for? And, first of all, thank you, Angelica. I appreciate you taking the time to ask the question. And I will be honest with you, what? The fact that I can, I think I am most grateful for my state of mind. And I hope that's not an easy answer I hope that that's the right answer, I should say the best way for me to describe where I'm at. My life's been a journey, to get me here and to get me to a point in my life where I'm comfortable talking about certain things and sharing my opinion, sharing my ideas. But I know, I'll tell you guys, if you want to do this, if you want to be in any way, shape, or form, you want to be delivering a message, and I'll bring up Victor again, and I completely forgot. And he brought it up when we were talking on the phone about my blog. If you guys don't know, prior to having a podcast, many years ago, I had a blog. It was Bob Wire Live. It was Bob Wire, BOBWIRE, Live, the blog. And I would blog. And you know what? Just to give you guys a timeline of when this was, if you guys remember hearing the Virginia Tech shooting, it was right around that time, because I remember that Rosie O'Donnell had made a ridiculous statement on television, and it just infuriated me, and I just decided I was going to write a blog, and I was writing a blog, and it was fantastic, and and Victor reminded me about that. And guys, I will tell you, I forgot all about it. It's somewhere out there. I must have it. I must have it in a file somewhere. Maybe I'll post it again if you guys want to read it, if you want to check it out. But it was just funny that he remembered that. And it was funny because we were talking about the podcast and the evolution of the podcast. And again, I use that word all the time, guys, when I talk about evolution. And again, that was the evolution to what we have, or what I have here today in the podcast, and that was the blog. And that was really my first experience with expressing myself and using like the internet and a means of getting a word out, and people were reading it. It was pretty cool. I had a couple of people following the blog, and they were looking forward to my rants, and that's really what they were. They were really rants, but they were substance. There was just a voice. I've always felt like I can't keep these things bottled up inside me, that I've always wanted to get them out, and that was just the perfect example of that, and it worked out fine. And you know what, guys, just a real quick circle back around here real quick. I don't want to get too far off. Shout out Victor. Thank you, Vic, for that call. I really appreciate it. In 1981, real quick, I just want to give you some birthdays. How about that? How about Britney Spears? She was born in 1981. Justin Timberlake was born in 1981. The two of those had a romance going on. Jennifer Tinsdale and Alison Krauss, both born in 1981. How about that? Pretty cool, right? Let's, funny. Things come at you quick, they go by at you quick. You try to keep up, you try to keep mind of all the movement, but sometimes things just get out of your realm, or out of your grip, right? And they just slip away. And in this case, kind of brings me to a point. I read something, and it resonated with me, and I wanted to just say it out loud and share it with you and see how you guys felt. And the statement was exactly this: being politically correct imprisons the mind. When I first read it, I didn't pay much mind to it, and then when I read it again and thought about what the statement was saying, it did make a lot of sense to me, and I'm going to share it with you what it meant to me, and you let me know what you think and maybe how you feel about it. And when you think about political correctness, at the end of the day, people, or I should say, there is a group or a generation of people that are very, very sensitive. And these people are very, very sensitive to opinions of others. And I always tell you, although I believe it is important to uphold, certain measure of character. I believe that's important for every single one of us as an individual. Ultimately, when you care more about what I think or what I say than your actions as an individual or as a human, that's where something has shifted, and I think maybe you really need to really recalibrate and readjust. And so when I can't tell you how I feel, or I can't express the way that I feel, perfect example, you talk about even a marriage, a man and a woman. If neither party can express the way that they feel, whether it be positive or negative, how is that relationship going to thrive? How is that relationship going to endure any conflict whatsoever? And the answer is it won't, and it cannot. And this is where I tell you, when we create these barriers of of not conversating and not being able to speak to one another, being afraid to share one's opinion because one is afraid of the repercussions of what they say. You watch some of these social media. Again, I try to be very open-minded with my intake of social media because I know, I'm only taking in what is being driven in my direction. But nonetheless, when people, just because you like, and this goes both ways, right? And this goes in either direction. If you say that you're a Bernie Sanders fan, people will criticize you. If you say you're a Donald Trump fan, people will criticize you. So no matter what, you're getting criticized in either direction. And this is a perfect example of that. If you say you're against gay marriage or that you oppose, I don't know, that you don't like service animals on an airplane, people take that personally. And I think, I don't think that they should. I think that, again, we need to be tolerant of one another and let people live the lives that they choose to live. But it doesn't mean that I have to accept it or I have to like it. I have to respect it and I have to show you respect and courtesy. But it doesn't mean that I have to like it. There are people out there that still celebrate Hitler and the swastika. Do I appreciate that? Absolutely not. Do I condone it? Absolutely not. But you know what? At the end of the day, you do you and I'll do me. I don't want to hear what you think. I don't care about what you think. That you're not part of my intake. Therefore, I choose that you're not a part of my life. And I think that we need to be able to do that as individuals, as a species. Being able to surround ourselves around the energy that we want to be around, and then just exit from the ones that we don't. If you don't believe, if you don't like it, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And I think that's the space that we're playing in now is you're literally, trying to justify the fact that, hey, look, just because I feel this way doesn't mean that I don't like puppies. You know what I mean? Like I just because I feel this way doesn't mean that I am not sensitive to your struggles. So, wherever that may be, or whatever it may be, just I think we just, again, and I'm always very cautious with this because when you use the word, it gets thrown around very, very often, and I don't know that people realize what it actually means. But when you say to be tolerant, I don't know that I'm not saying it's not a weakness. It's not a word of weakness. I think it's a word of strength. When you can be tolerant of people and appreciate them for the way that they want to live their lives and the things that they want to do. And I think that as individuals, we should all be able to do that. So back to my original statement, being politically correct imprisons the mind, and the answer is yes. Because you can't speak your mind, you can't say what you want to say, because people just get offended, people get hurt. And at the end of the day, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be a week from now, but at some point somebody's gonna, because now it's forever. Whatever you type on Twitter, whatever you put on Instagram, whatever you write on the internet, it's forever. Whatever you say, whatever I say here, it literally is forever. And what's to say that in 10, 20 years, somebody's not going to come back and pull some excerpt of one of my podcasts and, try to hold that against me. You know what? That's a chance I'm willing to take, guys. Because you know why? At the end of the day, I am tolerant. I am sensitive to people's thoughts and ideas. You can live your life the way that you want to live your life, and I'm okay with that. As long as I can live my life the way that I choose and the way that I want to live my life. As long as we can both do it, then I'm okay with it. Am I willing to make sacrifices on my end so that you can enjoy yours? Yes, of course. But I would hope that you would be willing to make sacrifices in your life for me as well. So that's how I think we live, and we and I use the word coexist together, regardless of what we feel or how we feel or who we want to be president or who we think should be, the Dalai Lama. I think that these are things that we need to share these ideas. And when we start shutting down and we start saying things that just don't make any sense, and we just start doing things just to do them, like ripping up speeches out of anger, not really thinking about the consequences of what it is you're doing. The idea that a lot of people out there, the ones that are unsung, the ones that we don't even know about, are the ones that are making the biggest sacrifices. And yet we have the audacity to pretend, like we show up in our white suits somehow, and that represents an idea for somebody that are you an opposing force? Are you because to me when I watched that State of the Union and I saw all those women, I really wasn't thinking of the Superior Court judges of the past. What I seen was a bunch of angry women that were just in refusal and deniability, that were not willing or even considering the idea that the country is in a better place than it was in the past, and that we are doing great things. Does Donald Trump get all the credit for that? I don't think so. I think there are a lot of people involved, including us as Americans, accepting these ideas and realizing that, at some point, we have to take care of our own. I'm not saying that we don't help people out because we're all about helping people out, but I think we need to take care of us first, and then we can worry about, the rest of the world. But, if you think of, the great poets, the John Lennons, the Bob Marleys, the messages that these guys were putting out there was always the same. And it was, just be tolerant of one another. Listen to what we have to say. When we stop listening, when we refuse to look at the facts and accept the facts and say, hey, you know what, things may be a little better this way, and we just are spiteful and choose not to, again, what's the message? What are we teaching our youth? And you know what, at the end of the day, where does that put us as people? Where does that put us as an age? When we choose to do these things and inherently continue to do them over and over again, guys, politics is terrible, right? Who enjoys politics, right? Well, nobody did. It was always terrible because it was always bad news, and now it's really not that way. And I hate to say it, but it almost feels like we're winning, right? It almost feels like, you know what, you're not going to take advantage of me anymore. You're not, you're going to treat me right. And now there are consequences. There needs to be consequences for the things that you do. It can't be just a status quo, and I can't just accept it every day. There has to be consequences for the actions, and I think that that's finally what we're seeing. Again, the laziness, when you think of the Iowa caucuses, not to bring this up again, but when you look at, these guys, they have the ability, the Democratic Party had the ability to put something good together and really get a solid candidate or a couple of candidates right up front and advertise their party and say, hey, you know what, look, these are the people that we want running the country. Instead, they just showed us again that they're incapable, absolutely incapable of the simplest task. They blame the Russians and the elections and really. Look, we did this to ourselves. There was an app. Somebody said that there was an app, and the app never worked. I mean that's terrible, right? Like there was a fatal flaw in the app, which caused this mess in voting. So you know what? At the end of the day, when you look and you see that these people continue to do the same thing day in and day out, and they just keep saying the same thing over and over again. I know you're not buying it. I'm not buying it. And I think most people that were on the fence have kind of hopped over that fence and realized that, you know what, this is the direction we need to go in. Enough of the bullshit. We need to take care of our own. Our healthcare is an absolute disaster. Nobody has an answer for it. Bernie wants them. And Stevie's probably gripping his steering wheel right now because he knows where I'm going with this. I don't agree. I'm not total social medicine. I'm not. But what I do believe is I believe that when you, again, the insurance companies and the medical industry in itself, when you turn a profit when you profit the amount of money that you're profiting from these services, at the end of the day, the patient is the one that's paying the consequences. So I think we really need to rethink healthcare in the sense of what are we charging patients? Like, what is the cost for these procedures? Can you make this cost effective? Does it really need to cost $10,000 for a scalpel? Is that the only scalpel that's able? You can't, right? Does it have to be the $20,000 face mask, or can we maybe minimize those costs? If you look at the healthcare industry now, guys, everywhere you go, like no one even wants you to go to the hospital anymore, right? They want you to go to the Minute Clinic. They want you to go to the urgent care. That's where they want you to go because ultimately, for me, I think it's a great idea. Why are you sending me to the hospital where it's let's just say One, it's a trauma unit. You know what I mean? If I just have a cold, why should I go and share my cold with, an emergency room full of people when I can just go to an urgent care center and hopefully get seen quicker and have less impact to the people around me? That makes sense to me. I get it. And I think that's a maybe a cost savings for everybody. So why are we not seeing that on the other end? Why? So if we're already and if anybody didn't notice, it's like CVS owns everything, guys. Right? I think Aetna, they just bought Aetna, and now like CVS owns the pharmaceutical world. You can't even get prescriptions unless you're getting them from CVS. You can't even get prescriptions anywhere. How crazy is that? Right? I mean, but again, I don't want to get too off topic here, and I don't want Steve to drive off the road. But at the end of the day, I believe we really need to look at the healthcare of the country and what we're charging. And I think the government, they buy the $200,000 hammers, and the American people are buying the $200,000 scalpels and medical. Right? That's where I think we're at. And I think the only way that we're going to fix it and make it any better whatsoever would be to actually try to. I don't know, just make it affordable. I mean, I keep hearing the Affordable Care Act, but nothing's affordable. When you look at the rates and what they're charging people, it's always outrageous. And it's, again, I don't want to get on a insurance tier here, but ultimately that's what it is. So, these candidates are talking about healthcare, and they're talking about ultimately when you guys have forfeited your ability to talk about the climate. No more climate. If you guys are driving around, or I should say, flying around in private jets, then you have forfeited your right to talk about climate change. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't play both sides. You can't be going to the gun range every afternoon and shooting off 10,000 rounds of ammunition and then going into the house saying that you're opposed to Second Amendment and gun rights. You know what I mean? Same thing here. You can't say that you want to save the planet and you want to abolish fossil fuels and the way that we treat it, and all of a sudden you're flying around in a private jet with 50 of your staff members. I mean, for goodness sake, guys, like seriously, like you can't do that. So really, what is your political platform? And what are you guys running on? Is it? I'm the candidate that can beat Donald Trump. I'm the candidate that can beat Donald Trump. Guys, I ask you all, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you all, is that the way to win an election? Is that the candidate that's got your attention? The candidate that's saying I can beat Donald Trump? I mean, how petty is that? How petty do you have to be to run a campaign and that is your campaign, that is the foundation of your campaign? I am the candidate that can beat Donald Trump. Really? Because that's what I want to hear. Listen, if you want my buy-in, and I'm talking to all of you, the Democratic Party, right? Because right now, I'll tell you right out there right now, and I would hope that I don't lose any listeners, but right now my vote is for Donald Trump. I'll put it out there. And I leave it to the Democratic Party to change my mind. You guys say something proliferating that's going to change my mind, that's going to make me think differently. Who is it? Is there any of these candidates that have the ability to tell me that I think that the country is going to be in a better place if they're in charge as opposed to the way we are right now? I can tell you honestly, from my experience and from my own personal research, the answer to that is no. There is not a candidate in that Democratic Party that I feel confident about that could put us in a better direction. If anything, the Democratic Party continues, AOC, Cortez, I'll tell you what, you are an absolute disgrace. You continue, first of all, again, I apologize to the lady listeners of the show if you're a fan of AOC. Me personally, I am not. I think it's absolutely shameful, the things that she says. Regardless of how you feel about Rush Limbaugh, it doesn't matter how you feel. At the end of the day, the guy's a journalist, radio host, radio personality, super Republican, way right. But again, that's no different than Howard Stern being who Howard Stern was. In this case, he was that of the Republican Party, and he was awarded the Medal of Freedom. And AOC said some pretty disgusting things about the man. That he shouldn't have got it. That he shouldn't. That he acted all surprised. And when the first lady put it around his neck. These are just terrible things. The guy's got stage 4 lung cancer. You know, the guy's he's on his deathbed. He's on his way out, and you just can't help yourself. You just couldn't. You know, you just couldn't help yourself. You couldn't just not say anything. Just let the guy. What does it matter? What does it matter? The guy got the medal. You know what? To Donald Trump, he helped Donald Trump get into office. They're buddies, and he got him the medal. Did he hurt anybody? No. If anything, you know what? If you're in that arena and you're a huge Rush Limbaugh fan, then that was a win for you. But because it wasn't your side, you can't just be humbled and let the guy just get the award and just. You don't have to say congratulations to the guy, right? But just don't say anything at all. Why the hell would you even say anything like that? You know, why would you say that he faked it and he already knew he was going to get it and it was all a show for television? The guy has stage 4 cancer, lung cancer. That's not a show for television. AOC. So, again, I know that with all your experience in life, as a bartender, you've got a lot of experience in your life. So I would imagine that you would know better than me, but probably not. So maybe sometimes you just need to just sit back and just shut up and not say anything at all. Because when you say things like that, it really undermines how we all feel. And when you're in a position of power the way that you are, you need to represent your party and represent it with some dignity and some respect. And one of the ways we do that is that we have a little bit of just sensitivity to those who are dying of a disease, of a terminal disease, and are and will be gone sooner than later. So again, I don't want to get on a tear on that. I don't want to go out on a bad note with the podcast, but I just really wanted to share that with you guys because it really, really bothered me a lot. And I'm not that I'm a huge Rush Limbaugh fan, but again, you have to appreciate the guy. He's been on the radio forever, and he's never swayed from his opinion, whether you've liked it or not. Again, like the Don Imuses of the world, again, just had an opinion. They spoke it, and that's the way that it went. So, Rush Limbaugh, congratulations to you on getting that medal, the Medal of Freedom, and to you and your family, man. That sucks. It's just terrible to hear that we're going to lose another talent to that terrible disease. So, enough about that, and enough about me tearing on the on politics, guys. Right. A couple of times it came up today. I couldn't even help myself. It's so loud right now. It seems like it's all on television. It's all we're listening to. It's all anybody's ever even talking about. So, it's so tough to not get kind of sucked into it. And I find myself talking more and more about it. Again with my like-minded friends and people that I know, and even the ones that I don't. They still have an opinion, and it's always, and I always appreciate both sides, and again, I'm always open to an intelligent conversation, but I refuse to have a conversation with somebody who just won't speak in facts. And if you're not going to speak in facts and you're just going to talk about things that don't even matter, then let's not do that, man. It's just not fun for anybody. Guys, I always mention, moving on, I always mention the Bobby Kudo Show and the support that we like to provide to the Shriners Children's Hospital. So if you guys can, and you have an extra couple of bucks and you don't mind, go over to loveshriners.org and go show your support. $19 a month. Go help out some really great children that could use some help over there. Always showing your support for the Shriners. The Bobby Kudo Show, always showing his support for the Shriners. Again, I mentioned you guys, no way, shape, or form do I have any affiliation or receive any compensation. I just like to, again, I'm a charity guy. I like to, if I can mention it and I can help, and I would like to do that. So in this case, that's exactly what I am doing. So if you can, go over there, show some support. Speaking of support, I mentioned before in the last podcast, guys, the Bobby Kudo Show does have a Patreon. If you guys want to support the show, of course, any help is always greatly appreciated at the Bobby Kudo Show at Patreon. And there's a couple of different ways to contribute to the show. You can do like a monthly subscription. You give like $1 a month. I mean, what's it, guys? $1 a month. What's it going to do, right? It would help the show a lot. It would help me out a lot. It would really help with the hosting and costs that go along with that. But hey, if you can, you can. You can't, you can't. I would rather you guys give it to the Shriners Hospital than give it to me. But if you guys are looking for and want to help the show out, then do that. Go over to the Patreon and do that. And go even Etsy. Guys, the Etsy thing is great because it's the brand. And I'd love to get the brand out there. the more the merrier. Speaking of the brand, I'm going to be giving away some T-shirts. Just trying to figure out a way to do that. So I figure what I'll do is I'll probably end up tweeting or maybe Instagramming or Facebooking a question about maybe something that I mentioned in a previous podcast, just to make sure you guys are listening, and maybe I'll hint out what episode, and maybe try to drive some listenership that way. And I got a couple of cool T-shirts to give away. I got some mugs. I got a mouse pad, and again, go over to Etsy, guys. Go do it. Go grab yourself your own. Don't wait for a contest to get your Bobby Kudo official T-shirt, man. Go get one yourself, right? Go get your own. I know a couple of fans, Jay Archibald, Randy, Steve, Joe. Guy's fantastic. You know what I mean? And now Victor, he's going to be getting the original OGs, man. These guys have been listening since the beginning. And the Jills and the Celias, these ladies who have been listening from the beginning, I am so grateful to every single one of you, and I really appreciate the support. I mean, you guys are the reason why this continues to go on, and I'm so grateful for it. Hey, a little FYI for you. If you haven't done your taxes yet, do your taxes. Don't wait. Just get them done. You don't want to be waiting in that whole H&R block line. Even now, more and more people keep doing the taxes on their own. If you don't have any complicated taxes, why wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you do it? Anybody watch the XFL this weekend? I don't know. I did. I watched a little bit. I don't know. I will tell you, I was not like super wowed about it. There's something a little different about it. And I think, again, maybe it's the talent, but I'll tell you what. AB, if you listen to the show, Mr. Antonio Brown, what are you waiting for? Get over there. Go play for the XFL. If the NFL is not going to let you play, then go to the XFL, man. You'll be the best player there. You imagine the airtime you'll have. You'll get to play. You'll put up some ridiculous stats. And I tell you what. Here's a question for you, McMahon. What are you doing on Saturdays? Why the frig do you have the XFL on Saturday? Why wouldn't you put the XFL on Sundays, and it would kind of almost fill in that void of the NFL? That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying, do it on Sundays, because for me, it would kind of like be normal, right? And I mean, if you're watching football on Saturdays, typically it's college ball, not right. But I mean, you guys do what you want. I would, if the XFL is going to be successful, I think they're going to have to put that on Sundays. And they got a couple of different rules and stuff. So I think it's one of those things that you're just going to have to. We're going to have to watch a couple of games to maybe appreciate it. And I mentioned Valentine's Day, right? I did mention Valentine's Day. I keep saying it because I don't want you guys to forget. Maybe I don't want to forget, right? And that is, guys, that's pretty much the show, right? I mean, that's a whole lot of episode in one show. We got a lot of music in there. The year 1981, right? Like, who knew? There was so much going on there. And of course, me with my little rants. I say little, but they're more than little. Guys, it just, some frustration. You know what I mean? I'll be honest with you. I won't lie to you. I do get a little frustrated sometimes. I just feel like sometimes our backs are against the wall. And when we see these people, and it's funny, I chose Blondie Rapture for this reason. Because I feel like this is the Rapture, right? I mean, the good, evil, right? Who's the good, who's the evil? We don't even know. They say that, when you look at, when the rule of the Bible, God killed over 200,000 people and the devil only killed 10. So you come up with your own decisions on that one. And in this case, you're talking about these Republicans, these Democrats, and what's the separation they're causing in our country. You know what I mean? Rather than bringing people together and just delivering a message of unity and that we should be in this together, they're creating this huge divide. In any way, shape, and form that they can. They segregate us by color and by preference of everything. You know what I mean? If you're gay, if you're lesbian, if you're trans, whatever it is you are, they want to separate us, and they want to make us all believe that there's someone out there that's trying to get you. And you know what, guys? None of it's true. There's nobody out there trying to get you. Everybody's getting up every day, going to work, and just trying to earn a living for their families and doing the best that they can. You, me, everybody. That's all. We're doing the same thing. We're all trying to just, make ends meet and really try to appreciate those moments in the middle. The weekends, the days off, and this is. I mentioned, guys, I was home all week and very sensitive for me. Taking care of a loved one, and you learn to appreciate the ones that are around you, because you know what, you never know. Any moment something goes terribly wrong, and 1 minute you're doing just fine, the next minute you find yourself in the hospital bed fighting for your life. So let's not get caught up in the bullshit. Let's get out of the weeds and really pay attention to what's really going on, and make decisions that are going to help us. Make us stronger. Not make us weaker. It seems like a lot of the things that we're doing are just make us weaker, and we can't be perceived that way to other nations. We are the greatest and most powerful and most amazing country in the world, and we need to act like it. We have to set the example. And if sometimes it means that we don't eat first, and that sometimes we don't eat first, but at the end of the day, we got to make sure that we're setting the right message to our youth. The next ones that are coming up. I think of my son. I think of your kids and the world that they're going to live in, and what are we offering them? Are we going to offer them a world that's just just polluted of fossil fuels and heaps and loads of trash and styrofoam, or are we going to hand the baton down to them and say, hey, enjoy your life the way that I enjoyed mine, and appreciate, the wonderful and amazing world that really is around us. Just look around. It doesn't take very long. You get in a plane, you don't have to fly very far, or you get in your car and go see something beautiful. Go to a state park and go appreciate nature, Mother Nature, and all it has to offer. Speaking of Mother Nature, and I'll walk us out of here. And anybody who knows me, this is funny. Anybody who knows me knows, and I've said this, and my kids will laugh when they hear it, and I say it all the time. Is when you feed, and I mean this in in the metaphorical way, and I also mean it in the literal way, and that is if you feed a stray cat once, right? Not only is that stray cat gonna come back, it's gonna bring its friends. And that's just it's going to happen. So it just so happens that at some point, one time or another, Rachel happened to see a cat hanging around. Like, I live in the woods. She happened to see a cat hanging around. So right away, it doesn't take long, Rachel puts food out. And I won't even say days, within hours, the cat came and started eating the food. And this was... and she named the cat Chanel, and this is like a white and black cat. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, we see a brown cat, and she names the brown cat Coco. So Coco is hanging around. So next thing you know, rather than one bowl out there, now we got two bowls, and the next thing you know, I'm making special trips to the store to go buy cat food. So now I'm feeding the stray cats in the woods that live in the woods in my house. But that's not the funny part of the story. The funny part of the story is, so today, all of a sudden, we get a new cat. And just so happens that, we were curious on the other two cats, what sex they were, male, female. But, that question was answered today when this big black cat showed up today and decided that it was going to hump everything. So, I got the Nest camera out there. It's on the food, and here we look, the cats are back, and the next thing you know, one cat's humping another cat. So, long story short, true fact in the form of the statement, you feed a stray cat, and next thing you know, now I got cats, procreating in my driveway. So, be on the lookout. I believe the cat's pregnancy, it's like 2 months, I think it is, something like that. So be on the lookout. I might have some kittens to give away. But here we go. Is this the humanitarian thing to do, right? Feed the cats? Well, whatever it is, it makes Rachel happy, and she likes to feed them. So, but I would imagine we're going to be having some kittens hanging around soon. So there you go with Mother Nature, right? Giving back a little bit. You know what? For me, it's all about the mice. Keep the mice away, right? So if you have cats, you don't have mice, right? Isn't that the idea, right? I would think so. So, guys, that's pretty much the episode. I hope I didn't rant too much on this one. I hope that the substance was flavorful. I mean, a couple of great movies, some great music, and just I thought some great content. You know what I mean? Just some great conversation. I hope it stimulated you. And I hope that maybe get some feedback from you guys. I mentioned before the show is only relevant because you guys leave your feedback and comments. So if you have a second, please go over Apple, And if you don't mind, subscribe and leave a review for the show, guys. I mean, I mentioned in the past, last couple episodes, I've been mentioning sponsorship for the show. And I'm really getting serious about it. And I think that, now the show has enough momentum and enough listenership that we can seriously consider getting some sponsorships for the show. And I would love to do that. So if you're out there and you're listening to the show and you really appreciate what you're hearing, and you're looking and would like to sponsor the show, please let me know. You guys can send me an email at thebobbycudoshow@gmail.com. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Facebook, whichever you prefer, and let me know. Again, guys, I don't know if you get a car dealership or maybe you provide a service. I mean, we got a huge listener audience base with a great demographic. I mean, again, if I told you that we have an even combination of men and women, age groups ranging from, let's say, like 15 to 65, so everybody in between, so a lot of people listening. It's a huge demographic, so a lot of ears are listening. So if you have a business or an idea that you'd like to get out there, please hit me up and let me know. I would love to do that. You know what I mean? Like I said, guys, I don't want to do commercials. I said it before, I won't do a commercial, but I will do a read. I'd love to, mention it. And, I'm always about supporting a local business. It's funny. I was watching my favorite show this morning, Sunday morning. And it was a story about this gentleman who had a dream. He wanted to have a movie theater. In his small town, he ended up buying an old firehouse that was, that they actually built a new firehouse. So, he got this place pretty cheap, and he converted and renovated the whole place into what he ended up calling the Firehouse Theater in Seattle, Washington. But it's just an amazing, true, inspiring story about an individual who just had a dream, who wanted to have a movie theater, and it got to the point where the theater was not many people there, so not making a whole lot of money, and he almost lost everything. And then the whole community came together and made it a point to go watch a movie once a week. And by doing so, this guy is able to keep his dream alive. And, right? What a great story that is. Isn't that amazing that people are willing to do that? And that's what this show is all about, guys. It's really about helping one another. And if you have an idea and you have something great out there and you want to get the word out, I'm always willing to help out. I'm always willing to share the word, because, this to me is a dream. This is the reason I do this, is that, I absolutely love the idea that I have a platform that I could speak my mind and express myself and just kind of just exhaust some of these things. And again, I share the love of music and history that I have with you. I love to share it. So that's why I do it. And I hope that you appreciate it. I hope that this always finds you well. I hope that you had a wonderful day today. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to the next one. I mean, God, we're already talking about episode 27. And again, guys, I mentioned in the last podcast, I'm already starting to get momentum on the Bobby Kudo Show Live event that I mentioned that we'd like to put together. Like, we're thinking in October. So if you have a sponsor or would like to sponsor the event, again, please hit me up at thebobbycudoshow@gmail.com, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. You guys know how to get the show. You know how to get to me. Hit me up. Call me. 508-475-9499. 508-475-9499. Call the show. Leave me a message. Let me know what you think. I'll talk about it on the show. I will. I would love to. I love to. Guys, I always look forward to this, and I only miss the time in between, you know what I mean? But it gives us time to put some substance together, put these great shows together. And I always look forward to sitting here on these Sunday evenings, and hopefully you're listening on Monday morning or Tuesday morning, wherever that may be. And I hope that this finds you well and strong. And with that said, guys, we're gonna cut out of here, and we're just under 2 hours, and I know that you are all busy, and I appreciate you lending me your ear. And remember, everybody, always remember that all roads lead here.